Regular people will lose all their money doing that. It all hinges on Bitcoin.
People try to time the volatility and they think they're geniuses.
Tomorrow is the day. The banks are over.
It's the way a fruit vendor looks at the way things should be priced.
That was the same thing as 3 years ago.
Apple stock 280, but it was 200 a year ago.
If Bitcoin failed, it would be a catastrophic failure for the whole sector. All your money that you ever saved is tied up in this.
Zero, there's none of it in the world. One is the invention of the first iteration of it in the world. The last time there was a synergy of revolutionary technologies, which would have been like steam engine.
We're still in the early adoption phase. We're still in the everybody needs to be a hacker phase.
Hey, same. Hey, same.
Hey.
Hash prices are down and carpentry is exhausting. Any ideas for a fraud that doesn't involve pretending to be a girl? Thanks.
Definitely buy some hash. There's a scam that doesn't involve pretending to be a girl. You make a lot more money if you have a male to female voice changer.
Yeah, it's true. Do you think the U.S. dollar will lose its position as the world's reserve currency in the short term?
No. I think that the CIA and the spooks, I think they probably have it under control, even though it appears like they don't. I think the appearance that they don't have it under control is there to throw you for a loop, but I don't think anybody's coming around with the U.S. dollar and all the doom.
Tomorrow is the day. The banks are over.
That was the same thing as 3 years ago.
It's just a grift.
I don't know, man. I just think it's. I think the spooks are in control.
I think part of their plan is to have everything crash eventually so they can buy it all up for pennies. But when that happens, they're just going to pull out their central bank digital currency, I think, and then they'll enforce the reserve status of that under nuclear threat. What I think is it will go to zero like every other currency, any other fiat currency that's ever existed, but they're just going to turn around and have the answer to the crisis be their solution, their pre-planned solution, which is Federal Reserve digital dollar. The period from switching to what we have now to what will come, there is a huge moment of opportunity for cryptos and commodities.
People are getting money now. The old folks fucked everything up. They're dying off. They're exiting the workforce. They're running their own little mini fortunes into the ground with health care for their diabetes, their Corvette payments. You know what I'd like to say to them? I'd like to say, and stay out! But these old people that ruined everything, they're in their sunset era, okay? And the money is starting to trickle down into millennials, and it'll trickle down to Zoomers, don't you worry. Finally, people are getting some money, and rightfully so. It's time.
I'll just briefly encapsulate. Here we go, right here. Michael Saylor talks about Apple stock in 2012, and his point, what he's talking about, he's talking about stocks, companies, technologies, whatever, where there's S-curve adoption. And what S-curve adoption is, you start down here at zero. It stays very close to zero. It's almost nothing. There's almost no activity. You've got a little bit of activity with early adopters, and then once the thing is proven, whatever, you have this growth that looks like exponential growth. And then what it does is at the top, it tapers off. That's why it's called an S curve like this. It tapers off once the niche has been filled. Like once everybody who could possibly ever own an iPhone has an iPhone, your niche has been filled. And yes, there's like 1 billion people in Africa who don't have iPhones, but it's like if we were to like the distance between right now and everybody in Africa having an iPhone, that distance time-wise and also the amount of like income that would create is not really, it's not the same as Apple's run-up from the beginning to now. Right now, Michael Saylor, he's like a Bitcoin evangelist, which I'm not saying to go watch his Bitcoin videos. His videos of him prior to Bitcoin talking about Apple, Amazon, tech investing, etc., are really worth looking into if you want to know about where you might want to put your money, okay? His non-Bitcoin videos are very illuminating as well. Okay, I'll say that.
Do you think Link is a good hold
as well as Bitcoin? Or
I mean,
all in
I'm
Bitcoin?
hanging on to the link that I have, but
Yeah.
I don't know enough. And if someone told me they do know enough to know, I wouldn't believe them. The play with Link is like a contingent play. Like if you have insider information that you genuinely know that Link is going to be a component of some Fed coin,
Yeah.
then yeah. But that's like, I have no reason to believe that. It doesn't seem far fetched. It doesn't seem like a lie. But it's also something that I'm not going to wholly buy into to the point where I'm betting the house on it. Like it's used in smart contracts, right?
Yeah.
So it's a compound bet. So you're betting on not only the first bet, which is that smart contracts are going to have enough utility somehow, which I think is a reasonable bet, that they'll have enough utility somehow that they're going to make up this massive whatever. That's bet one, and then bet two is that they'll continue to use Link as a mechanism that's used in the thing.
Yeah.
But that's like betting on your favorite fighter winning, and he does it by knockout in the 7th round. Like it's just you're increasing the amount of risk in the bet, and is the payoff that you're getting still this like asymmetric huge deal bonus compared to the amount of risk that there is? And I don't know. So. The link that I have, I'm not gonna sell it. I'm just gonna hold it.
Yeah.
If I had to bet either way, I'd say probably. I mean, it seems plausible that it'll be a thing. Yeah. I definitely don't know enough to recommend to anybody else.
Yeah.
When people were looking at Amazon stock in 2009 or whatever, they were looking at Apple stock in 2012. They were looking at Bitcoin now and a few years ago. They were looking at this volatility. If the product is an obvious, what Peter Thiel calls a 0 to 1 product, like it's 0 to 1 means 0, there's none of it in the world. 1 is the invention of the first iteration of it in the world. And like globalism is focused on going from 1 to 100, taking the iPhone that already exists and duplicating it 100 times so that everybody in China can have one. That's 1 to 100, that's globalism. But like actual innovation is 0 to 1. So going from where there's nothing to where there's something, that's where the actual innovation takes place. And when that innovation happens, when you go from 0 to 1, there's always volatility because the market is trying to figure out like how legit the thing is, what it's worth, etc. But there's a period where to insiders and even to laymen, even to laymen with enough kind of like layman knowledge in various fields to piece together the truth, there's a period where it's obvious there is a clear category winner, but the market is still trying to figure out who the clear category winner is. But to anybody who knows how a fucking computer works, it's obvious that the iPod beats the Zune. And you'd have to have an MBA and be a professional investor to be retarded enough to think that the Zune beats the iPod. The problem with volatility is people try to time the volatility and they think they're geniuses. Like people look at the price of Bitcoin or Apple stock or whatever. So people will be like, they'll be like right here, 280, and they'll be using their past history. They'll be like, they'll see that it's at an all-time high, and they'll just go like, it's almost like it's the way a fruit vendor looks at the way things should be priced. Mm-hmm. Like these plums, you're telling me $45 for a plum? This doesn't make sense. Apple stock $280, but it was $200 a year ago. It was only $200 a year ago. Why would it be $280?
You got to realize like money is like an essential force that you have to cultivate. It's a form of meta energy, so it can be used to buy food, energy, shelter, etc. You are trading your time for this stuff. You're trading your blood for this stuff, your mojo, your life essence. You can't have a cavalier or nihilistic or destructive or negative attitude about it.
If you had just bought in 2010 when it was at the market cap was 300 billion, now the market cap is 3 trillion, you would have 10x'd your money. But it's hard to do that at the time when the stock's going like this. And the other person that I think is conceptually correct a lot of the time is the meme lady, Cathie Wood. And her notion, which I don't think has yet to play out yet. I don't know how people who've bought ARK Invest have done. But her idea is that there are 5 revolutionary technologies, and that the synergy between these 5 revolutionary technologies will have a sort of magnitude of it as along the same lines as the last time there was a synergy of revolutionary technologies, which would have been like steam engine, rail transport, and whatever, AI, gene editing, blockchain, and there's 2 other things that she talks about that the synergy between these things is going to absorb a lot of money, which I think conceptually makes sense to me. Although I don't think her ARK Invest ETF is doing well, but I haven't checked in a year, so I don't know.
The one bet, and going back to that compound bet thing, it all hinges on Bitcoin. Like, all this stuff is a compound bet on Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin fails, it's like the idea of a digital store of value has failed. Like, it would be a catastrophic. If Bitcoin failed, it would be a catastrophic failure for the whole sector. There's no scenario where Bitcoin is like discredited or dethroned, where some other thing comes up, because the whole idea is that you have this one thing that's the universally desirable good. Like, that's what money, that's like what gold is. The world economy, like trading system, was built on gold and based on gold, and it was that way until the year 1200 or something, and then all of a sudden there was some ecological, like acid rain or something, some reason why all of the gold in the world dissolved.
Platinum, palladium, silver would follow.
It would just be a total cluster. Like, it wouldn't be the way that people think it is, where, you know, whatever steps up as this new universally desirable money. It's not. It wouldn't be the same anyway. Whatever. Bitcoin savings account. That's what I use it for. Chainlink, wild goose chase bet. Not sure. No idea. Wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't try to dissuade you from it.
Oh, what should he do with his money? I can't give you financial advice. All my money goes directly into Bitcoin.
Doofus Dan says, I know this is kind of a dumb question, but can you do a quick walkthrough of buying Bitcoin? Best wallet / exchange / dangers of keeping it on an exchange, etc.
Maybe the place to go for that is Swan Bitcoin. I don't think there's one thing you can tell people that's all inclusive, because the thing that you're supposed to become a hacker and learn how to hack a computer with Linux and have you want an air-gapped netbook running Linux with the checksum running over the VP. Like, no, nobody's, not every, like, that's the early adopters. The only people you can tell that to are early adopters, because nobody else is going to do that.
Yeah.
Furthermore, like, regular people will lose all their money doing that. That's like all the stories on Reddit are like, I thought I lost access to this Bitcoin wallet, but it turns out I didn't. But yeah, for everybody who thought they didn't lose access to the Bitcoin wallet, there's 10 people who like lost their keys somewhere. There's risk involved with whatever method you go with. If you go with Coinbase or Gemini or whatever, there's still risk. Like, Gemini lending service got hit by the FTM, and then there's also regulatory risk, which you're protected against regulatory risk if you have a hardware wallet, I guess. But you still have that danger of losing all your from, like, losing a piece of plastic that's like smaller than this. Like, hey, your net worth, all your money that you ever saved is tied up in this. Don't worry, you can memorize a 24-word sequence and you'll be safe. Like, it's just, people are not going to be as rigorous as Timmy the coding hacker.
Yeah.
When they set up their thing. But probably the way to do it would be, if you're doing it with a smaller amount of money, go through Gemini or Coinbase. If you're doing a lot of money, get it onto a Trezor. We're still in that phase where you can't really be protected from risk by going with a big name, by signing up for the Bank of America crypto program. We're still in the early adoption phase. We're still in the everybody needs to be a hacker phase to figure out how the thing works. So you just got to do a bunch of research. But to get started, you're probably safe buying on Coinbase or Gemini.